According to new reporting, Trump has finally yeeted the first person out of the White House, and perhaps not super surprisingly, it is indeed National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. Not only him, some of his underlings are also being thrown out, Alex Wong being one of them. Those are two names that have come up, basically in the wake of the Signalgate leak of classified information to a journalist at The Atlantic. And we expect, according to sources, that more people are actually going to be on their way out. And Trump is expected to speak publicly about this as well, to announce why it was done. No, not why it was done. He's going to lie and say some other reason that it was done. That's going to make it seem as if he was wise to put these people into these positions that they would prove themselves to be wildly incompetent at and need to be fired within just 100 days. And somehow that's not supposed to worry us about what's happening at the NSA or in defense generally, or about Donald Trump. Everything's good, shut up and take it, I suppose. Asked for comment, White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt, who I will remind you, her only job is to communicate with the media about developments at the White House, says, we are not gonna respond to reporting from anonymous sources. But it's true, it happened, right? So are you telling me that they got it wrong? He still has the job? No? So then what does it matter if it's an anonymous source? Like, you grant that he's fired, that they're all being swept out. You're not gonna admit why, but could you say something? No? Okay, you really don't like the press for a press secretary. That's interesting. I feel like the feeling is mutual. In any event, this was news apparently to Mike Waltz, because earlier this morning, he thought he was in good standing. In fact, he went on Fox to say this.
Just, Brian, this, I'm so excited about this. This is leadership at its finest, led by our commander-in-chief who loves the troops and they love him. Secretary Hegseth leading from the front.
Leading from the front of the line to get to the bartender. So that's Mike Waltz talking about the amazing, exquisite, throbbing leadership of Donald Trump, which apparently came in the form of firing him like 2 hours after he said that. He loves the troops. No, he doesn't. That's one of the biggest lies you could possibly tell. He fundamentally does not understand the concept of service to anything other than yourself and your own ambitions, let alone to an abstract concept like America or freedom or whatever. Do the troops like him? I'm sure some troops like him, the ones who aren't familiar with everything he has said and done in regards to the military throughout his career. But anyway, this is a dark day for the White House. We've been talking from the beginning about the 3 hallmarks of the Trump term, which is chaos, crime, and corruption. This is the chaos part, possibly as a result of crimes, the leaking of the classified information, but this isn't looking good for them. That said, some people are having fun with it. Clearly, I'm one of them, but Tim Walz is another who just tweeted, Mike Waltz has left the chat. And I don't know if he felt like particularly invested in this because of the similarity of their names, but it is a good reference to Signalgate. Laura Loomer also put out a statement about this, and we're not gonna read it to you because screw that. That's like the last thing you need, isn't it? I don't even want to know the details of it, but I know the basic idea is Laura Loomer, who is one of the most certifiably crazy people in America. I'm not being hyperbolic or vague. I'm not using the term crazy just to be like, I don't like this person, I don't agree with this person. She is out of her goddamn mind. Remember, she went in to the White House and was like, you got to clean house in the NSA. Waltz got to go. I think she said Alex Wong has got to go. All these people got to go. And then that happened. Now, context, they had been reckless, with classified information, but I don't know. I think I'd rather that classified information be leaked that puts our troops at risk than Laura Loomer get her way. That's how I feel today. I don't know if you agree, but in any event, he is out, and I don't know what the official explanation is going to be as to why they had to fire him, but it seems pretty clear that it has to do with Signalgate. Either that this is a repercussion for Signalgate itself, or because of Signalgate, it started to sour other important players, perhaps including Laura Loomer, on Waltz and his crew. But either way, that seems to be why they're getting rid of him. But I would just remind everyone, we can stop for a second and be like, oh, isn't it good that a person who was doing stuff they shouldn't do, possibly breaking the law, will be out of the administration? Yes, it is. But as always, just him. So the case to be made for it to be Waltz out of all of those people, remember everybody was in that chat. You had Tulsi Gabbard, you had Pete Hegseth, you had JD Vance and all that. So they even had small-time players like the vice president, but they had important people too. So the case to be made for getting rid of him is he's the one that set it up, and so he's the one that brought in the Atlantic reporter. But like, was that the worst part of this? That was the part that let us find out about it. And in theory, he could have not added a responsible journalist. He could have put, like one of the people at those new right-wing press briefings or something, and then that could have been really dangerous. But the fundamental issue is that all of these people who should know better are using Signal to do these chats. Unsecured, potentially hackable, and sharing the information. And so yes, Mike Waltz did the bad thing of adding a journalist, but Pete Hegseth was sharing wildly specific, needlessly specific, mission critical information, and he's cool? Why would he not be fired? He didn't add the journalist, but he did the bad things that would make it horrible if it had been someone less responsible than that journalist. So this is like from a mile up in the sky, you look down at this thing and it's kind of the way things should work, but it's also scapegoating at the same time. And so I can't be too happy about this news. In any event, look, it's not to say that we couldn't end up getting Hegseth. It's possible. Maybe this is sort of testing the waters or whatever. And I guess one person does have to be the first person yeeted out of the White House. In this case, it's Mike Waltz. I don't think anybody expects that he'll be the last one. I mean, the turnover, the churn in the first term was absolutely insane. There's every reason to believe that we're gonna get that too. Maybe this is the easy one. He doesn't have this massive constituency. I don't know what Fox thinks of him, but it's not like the MAGA movement's gonna freak out. Getting rid of a Pete Hegseth has slightly more of a chance of that. I think that Trump would be fine. I don't think he needs to worry about that if he does decide to get rid of Pete as well. But this one's a little bit easy and gives I don't know, the idea of justice, but I don't feel like justice has really been done.
If you enjoyed that, make sure that you never miss another video by subscribing. And if you want a little more, consider hitting the join button and becoming an actual member. But you're probably wondering, why the hell would I do that, John? First off, calm down. The stakes in this are very, very low. But also, when you click the join button and you become a member, you get access to bonus content that I make every week, and it's a ton of fun. You get access to tons of custom emojis and more besides that. By the way, if you join at tier 3, you even get access to a monthly member hangout with myself and other awesome people, and we always have a great time. By the way, you'll get all that going forward, but you also unlock years of the back catalog. That is literally 100 or more bonus clips, top 10 lists, debates, and more. What are you waiting for? Click the join button below. Your support powers our show, and we couldn't do it without you. Or at the very least, I wouldn't really want to try. Viewers like you keep me here. So thank you in advance for joining.